Welcome back everyone to Resin Ranger Create Your Own, where it's all about having fun and keeping busy. So let's get right into it and get started. So this project involves an old vinyl kit that I've had for years, and it was made by a company called Horizon Models, which came out in the late 80s, probably like around 88, 89 or so. They made a whole line of classic horror movie figures, and they're great kits because they're made out of this vinyl material that's becomes flexible, like if you want to soak it in hot water or use a blow dryer. Makes it really easy to trim off the excess from the pieces. They just go together nice, and they're just great kits. Really well sculpted and really well done. So probably find them on eBay or something like that if you're really interested. So like I said, I've had this kit laying around for a while, and it was already trimmed. The ends were already trimmed from all the pieces. So I basically just heat up the part that you want to insert. You just heat it up. You can heat both ends up with a hair dryer, and the pieces just go together like butter. Okay, so there's the Invisible Man in all his glory, the upper half anyhow. So you can see the bandage. So in this picture here you can see where I just made a simple box out of an old piece of wood that I had laying around. And it was nice and weathered, so I decided to just leave it the way it was. And this adds a lot of character to the box as well, so it looks cool. So The Invisible Man was released by Universal Studios in 1933 as an American science fiction horror film. The film stars included Claude Rains, Gloria Stewart, and William Harrigan. So here you can see the concept. You've got the box. It's kind of like a shadow box because it's got quite a bit of depth to it. And there you can see the figure put together. And next I'm going to show you a little bit of the painting, the background, and the lighting. The film involves a Dr. Jack Griffin who is covered in bandages and has his eyes obscured by dark glasses, the result of a secret experiment that makes him invisible. On the film's release in 1933, it was a great financial success for the studio and received strong reviews, such as from the New York Times, which placed it among the best in film for the year. So I'm using this neon rope light. It's not necessarily really bright, so don't rely on it for any kind of brightness level, but I coiled up a section of it and put it in the top of his head. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to have some of that green light coming from his head, like he was exposed to some toxic material or something. So the rest of the coil will pass through the upper half of the body and down through the legs. So what I did here is I just heated up the bottom of the foot on the one side where I wanted it to come out, and this makes it the plastic really soft, and you can cut through it really easy. Okay, so here's the figure with the lights in, and it's been mounted to a piece of styrofoam, which is going to be the base for when he goes inside the box. So I cut out a little trough in the back, on the back side, to run the green wire through it for the light, and the rest of this is going to be mounted to the back side of the background piece, which you'll see coming up next. And then I just needed some detail stuff on the side, so I cut another piece of styrofoam and cut some notches into it. And I just used a soldering iron to make those marks in the styrofoam. Alright, so now we're into the painting phase, and unfortunately I had some problems with the the data card that goes into the side of my camera, so I lost a lot of footage. But you can see here, the painting is really quite simple. It's black for the pants, a dark brown for the jacket. I used the Stylins resin to start. Everything was coated with a good primer. And then the satin black from MIG, and dark brown as well from MIG. And then I just did some highlights. This was all just airbrushed really quick. Model color was the brown that I used. So again, I apologize for the painting sequence. Kind of got rubbed out. I do have a little bit of stuff to share, but so these backgrounds I created in my Adobe Spark program. They're just images that I found on Pinterest, and I glued them to some thick cardstock, and I'm going to cut sections of these out, and they're going to be illuminated with the green EL wire, as well as a set of fairy lights, little LED fairy lights. So I have a sharp X-Acto blade, and I'm just cutting through the sections. I'm going to cut out the sections that I don't want. I'm going to keep the sections that I want, and this will you'll see how the light shines through, and it kind of gives a multi-layer effect. So I've got the section cut out for the back side. Now I'm going to attach the green LED, the wire, the neon wire. I'm going to attach that to the back side of the thick cardstock that has the background image on to it. And as well, I just used a hot glue gun for this. You can see where I drew a black line, so it kind of shows me where I wanted the wire to go. And then I'm going to do the same process with adding the fairy lights, but I'm also adding some foil tape as well that you'll see coming up next. And this will help with illuminate the lights, and because like I said, these things aren't very bright, and the aluminum tape will help hold down the lights, and it will also help with the illumination process. So that's the plan anyways. Alright, so lights in place, the EL wires in place, everything's glued to the back side of the what's going to go behind the figure inside the box. So tested, everything's good, and move on to the next section. So there was a couple of lights that were shining too bright, and I wanted to just kind of knock them down a bit, so I took a black paint marker and I'm just going over top of the lights that I don't want to shine really bright. So I attached the first layer with using hot glue to the base of the back that goes behind the figure. I just wanted it to be a little bit elevated more towards the bottom to let the light shine through, so I just used some strips of the cardboard that I had cut out from when I was cleaning out the background, and I just rolled those up and used some hot glue and stuck them underneath to give it a little bit of height. So aside from messing up the paint, most of the painting part, you can see here how everything is going to go together with the back that goes on the back side of the box and the figure on its base. And now I'm going to do some detailing around the where the stonework is and stuff. So on the styrofoam pieces where the stonework is, I used a combination of Mod Podge, some sawdust, fine sawdust shavings, and some plaster of Paris, like a 1, 1, and 1. And then mix it all up together and it makes like a sludge. You can see it's really, really like a thick batter. So I'm going to apply that on the sections where there's gaps that I want to fill, as well as on the side where there's gaps. So I'm just going ahead and filling in all the gaps with this stuff, and this is great for terrain and all different types of diorama work and stuff. It dries hard. You can add paint to it to color it if you want, and it's cheap to make, and you can just mix up a little bit however much you need. Next, I took some. It's tropical terrarium substrate. It's called plantation soil. You can buy it at the dollar store. It comes like in a brick, and it's super cheap. And it's great for doing diorama work and stuff. You just crumple it up, and it looks like like debris, like leaves and whatnot. And it's great for all types of diorama work. So I'm just applying it with a coffee stir stick so I can get it reach in towards the back. And you just kind of want to tamp it down into that wet substrate that I put in there. And that's basically it. It'll just hold its shape in there. So I'm just finishing up a little bit of the detail here with some turf grass. I'm going to put some of that on that front part there. Just kind of tuck it in there with my finger. Just push it into that wet stuff. And I'm going to add some washes. Okay, so if you've seen my other videos, you've seen me use this Varathane stuff before, and it's great. It's super cheap. It lasts a long time. And I'm just using it to kind of dab into the corners where the that plaster material that I applied and the greenery and the leaves and stuff where that is. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a shadow and just helps everything kind of blend in together. And then just rubbed it over top of all the styrofoam pieces that were already painted. And these were also covered prior to being painted. They were covered with a coating of Mod Podge. You can put it on fairly thick. You don't have to be. You can be generous with it. It's fine. These MIG washes are great for doing all kinds of distressed stuff and terrain work. So this is basically the end of the terrain work with the bricks and the sidewalk, if you will, the side piece here with the little that ornate thing was from a failed 3D print that I was doing, and so I just thought it would look cool there, kind of like a newel post or whatever. So I just glued that on there and painted it, and you can see, you know, it looks like there's leaves and there's some little bit of moss maybe and stuff. So I also have to have a little sign out front. So this was done in my Adobe Spark program, and just printed on regular paper, mounted to some piece of cardboard. I did a little frame with some bamboo, and now I'm just adding some washes to the paper to kind of give it an old, you know, distressed look, with a little bit of blue tone from Army Painter, some that Varathane product I use on here again, and then also gonna put a couple of little dabs of London Gray paint in here as well. Now, what the look I'm going for is that it kind of looks like a miniature metal sign that's got seen some wear and been and rust and stuff on it. So there's a little bit of, there's some rust, and then there's gonna add this London Gray like I mentioned before, some little dabs of that, and then as well on top of that I added some metallic paint, just tiny little dabs of metallic paint over the gray, and then this kind of gives the effect that the sign is kind of, you know, it's worn and been rusted through. Alright, time for some glamour shots, so sit back and enjoy. Couple of little quick tips here of the styrofoam. You can see where I etched the lines in with the soldering iron, and I used the rasp file to make some indentations in the styrofoam. Everything was coated with Mod Podge and then painted. You can also knock out some little chips with an X-Acto knife if you want to have some chips in the sidewalk or in your brickwork, your stonework, whatever you're doing. It's really easy stuff to work with. It's just kind of a trial and error thing where you just get the look that you want by just carving away. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea of the painting process. Like I said, different shades of brown, airbrushed for the jacket, dark tones for the, you know, where the shadows are and whatnot. Used some brass for the tie and the handkerchief, and did some blue lines across it. So I just threw some little bits in here at the end. You'll see different little processes that I went through to get the finished product. This little clip here, you can see the components before everything was assembled into the shadow box. You can see the figure's been painted with the lights in his head glowing. The background, I think, turned out pretty cool.
Bring the funk back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I have a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff, and it's nice to know that people appreciate it. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking it out. I want to show you something that I've been working on. So this is a little city that I made, and it's for the band Boston, for the spaceship guitar that you see on the cover of the Don't Look Back album. So I made this out of a bunch of different little buildings that I printed on my 3D printer, and they were all assembled on this flat disc that I made, cut out of plastic. So just want to give you a little sneak peek, because that's coming up next. Maybe not the next video, but it's coming up. It's been quite a lengthy project, but it's coming along, and I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with the Invisible Man. I just love all this Universal horror movie stuff. Always have since I was a kid. So again, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell. All that stuff, it helps draw traffic to the channel, and I really appreciate it. So till next time, create your own and have fun and keep busy. All right, we'll see you next time.